Hello. We are here today with my good friend Becca. We actually met in an entrepreneur's mastermind. She house hacked her way to financial freedom and is now a full-time entrepreneur, a recent full-time entrepreneur. So, welcome, Becca. I'm so glad you're here today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Olivia.
Amazing. So, I guess why don't you tell everyone who is Becca Peachey?
Oh gosh. You think I would have an answer for that right away. Okay, so I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I guess that plays a big part in my journey. I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years. Um, College dropout, but tried again and, finally got that degree, which was oh so much help. I'm being a little bit sarcastic there. Uh, and then a lot like your story, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my whole life. And I kind of like Googled when I was in high school what is going to make me the most money and try to major in whatever was going to make me the most money. But I never really like focused on my passion until recently. And I feel like real estate really gave that to me. Real estate is one of my passions. But in addition to that, it's given me the freedom to explore even more of what means to me. And so, yeah, I guess I'm like a passion pursuing person, is the best way to describe it.
I love that. I love that. So, I guess what was your degree in?
Oh, so I eventually went back in the Marine Corps and like did school part time and finished it in business with an emphasis in entrepreneurship because I
Okay,
always knew I wanted to
okay.
eventually be my own boss. Yeah.
Well, so it's so funny you said that because I remember like I got my degree in chemical engineering, but then I got a master's in engineering and technology management because I always knew I didn't actually want to be an engineer, but I knew I did want to go into something like business wise and maybe entrepreneurship, but I didn't really even know what being an entrepreneur meant at the time.
Yeah, so I'm like the first person in my family to graduate from college, and it was just kind of like, or at least my parents, at least, I knew I wanted to get into business, and it was almost just like pick a major and just finish it. But it
So
did
fair.
help a little bit to like get a higher paying job. But my job was primarily when I was in corporate America, it was primarily from my experience with the in the Marine Corps that got me that job because I worked in IT. So not related at all to my degree.
Right. Okay, so tell me, how did you even get started investing in real estate? I know you started Googling and stuff like that, but what helped you get that first property? How did you even get that first property?
So I always wanted to be a homeowner. It was like the ultimate goal. I wanted a place for myself. And I had a friend that also wanted to like move out of their current living situation and decided that I was going to buy a house and rent one of the rooms to him. And I knew that I'd have other friends as well that would move in. So it was basically just like immediately getting into house hacking. But I didn't even know house hacking. Like I didn't know the term house hacking. I remember I was telling my boss at work, at my job at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I'm buying a house, and then like Tyler's moving in with me, and so is Aaron." He's like, "Oh, you're gonna house hack?" And I was like, "What? What's that?" And then he sent me the Bigger Pockets episode with Craig Curelop. I don't know if I butchered his name or not, but I listened to that and I was like, "This is genius." So it kind of came like natural to me to like, "Oh, I want to find a way to afford this, but I don't want to." I don't know. It was really scary at first to buy a house, if that makes any sense.
Totally. And so I guess where did you buy that first property?
That property is in Oceanside, California. So I still have it actually. And yeah, it does. I've pivoted that property so many different times, but living in Southern California for like $700 out of pocket is
100%. And that's where I want to bring up a couple things there. So number one, you bought a property in California. Now, so many people look at California and they're like, it's impossible to buy a property there. It's impossible to make any cash flow there. What was your experience and how did you feel comfortable buying in California?
my experience. So I did get to take advantage of the VA home loan, which is 0% down. I did have to do like the good faith deposit. So $7,000 that they held until closing. But I mean, as far as since I've moved out of that property and even while I lived there, I've cash flowed that thing pretty much the whole time. The only time I did not cash flow is when I lived in it myself and was house hacking with all long term tenants. And $700 out of pocket is like the worst I ever did, which is still not bad. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
have even been able to find an apartment. So, and now that property cash flows crazy. I use the midterm rental strategy, and I do insurance companies, and it's the full home. Before that, I was doing by the room, furnished, and it's easily the best property I own right now. I'm a big fan of California, although it's not landlord friendly. So you do have to like kind of weigh the risk there, but
Totally. Well, and I love that you have been able to pivot the property so many times. So it's not like you were just like, oh, I'm buying this property and I'm only going to do long term rentals and that's the only way that it works. You really dug into, okay, how can I make this work and maybe squeeze out a little bit more cash flow from it, or just, provide a different service that is in need in the market right now and really kind of be the solution for that, right? Because I think when buying real estate, so many people think it's got to be just one way, but no, you can always pivot your properties and always have different exit strategies. That's the beauty of real estate investing. It's just kind of knowing what those options even are.
yeah, you're not stuck. Like it's even with the one property. I mean, it's had issues where I've had like, I don't know. I remember I had roommate drama
Yeah.
when I first did like I was marketing on Airbnb, and they were all rented out. All of the rooms were. And I just dealt with roommate drama like nonstop. And I was like, I'm going to raise the prices. And when I raised the prices, all of a sudden, like this roommate drama went away. And I'm like, okay.
Oh
And then
my
just like more
gosh.
problems would come up. Yeah. So eventually, actually, I had a family basically, and they effectively like got everybody else to move out because they were just terrible roommates, and I had to give them notice because they had only been there for a couple months. I gave them like a 30-day notice. And then at the end of those 30 days, they're like, we're not leaving. And so I was like, okay, awesome. I had to like go through the whole like, do I need to evict them? And then that was my final straw with like, okay, we're just going to do the full house and try that strategy. No more roommate drama, but it was a good 2-year run.
Yeah. So I guess, I want to bring up too. So a lot of people get kind of scared about the rent by the room strategy. What are some systems that you had in place that really helped you manage that?
I did Z-Wave locks, and I had front door like deadbolt, and then everybody's bedroom had their own little like keypad, so that all of those were like individually locked, and then your combo would get you into the front door and it would get you into the bedroom, your specific bedroom. I had a really thorough welcome guide. I set up everything that you could like possibly want in the common areas, also in the bedrooms. So like they had a mini fridge, they had like little coffee thing, like a coffee maker, a tea kettle, like electric tea kettle, a microwave. Basically, like it was kind of set up like a hotel. And in the shared spaces, like parking was always a big deal. So having like designated parking spots, literally taping the divide of the garage so like people wouldn't complain that it was they're parked too far over. Like you start dealing with problems and you're like, okay, how do I not deal with this anymore? so, um,
100%.
so yeah, designated parking spots, designated locations in the fridge, and it was a well-oiled machine. And I did have some I did have some red flags before I let that family move in, and I should have listened to them, which is I probably could have kept going with the rent by room, but I was like, let's see what the full house is because that'll probably be less drama and less work. And it ended up working out arguably even better. So
Totally, totally. So, I have a question for you. Since now you're a full time entrepreneur, is there anything you learned from those initial real estate investment properties that influenced the way that do entrepreneurship and see entrepreneurship now?
I feel like I was always already doing the entrepreneur things. Like
Hmm.
I was constantly working on myself, constantly trying to like figure out how I can make my properties profitable. And so translating all of that into business was, I don't want to say easy, but like the foundation was there. The muscles had been worked while I was working my W 2 as well. And I do have to say something I struggled with when I had a W-2 was I had this like internal thought all the time that was like, you're not a real entrepreneur. Even though I was doing it, you know? And as soon as I quit, it was like that went away. I don't know. It was like within a couple days, like a week. It was like, okay, I have the proof of concept. I'm doing it. And now I don't have the W-2. So like I am really an entrepreneur.
Totally, because it kind of feels like this just like side business or side hustle, and you don't really like
Yeah. It feels like you're
embody
role
it.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely, completely. So you said that you were constantly working on yourself even before you quit your job. In what ways were you working on yourself?
Oh gosh, podcasts, joining masterminds, reading books, business books. I guess I did get my business degree, which I'm going to be honest, I think I get more out of talking to people that are already doing the work instead of like, I had like two good professors that really had an impact on me that like actually, you know, were entrepreneurs and my
Totally.
entrepreneur, you know what I mean?
Oh
It's
no,
crazy how
a
that works,
hundred,
but
like literally completely, because what people don't realize is that when you go to school, like even if you're going to go get your MBA, most of those people have not actually like been entrepreneurs themselves. They have not started a business themselves, like all of your professors. And they're just kind of regurgitating to you just research they've done, but they haven't actually done the thing themselves, which blows my mind.
yeah. I think I had 3, and now that I think about it a little bit more, that, like, had the proof of concept, you know what I mean? Like, they had done it, they could talk about it, and they were the best teachers I had, but the majority of it was just, like, textbook. I remember one of my classes was legitimately reading through a business book, and I'm like, "What? This is a $10 business book." Like, I'm talking about, like, a
Oh
like, a
my
self-help.
gosh.
Not saying you shouldn't get a degree, but, like,
Yeah, no,
there's other
I
paths.
completely feel that, because, I'll have even some of my students will come to me and they'll be like, "I'm thinking of getting my MBA." And I'm not going to tell anyone don't go get your MBA or don't go do school. I think there's still value obviously in education. I think it's never a bad idea necessarily to get an education, even if it's just for, I guess, the clout. But
Yeah.
I
Put it at
like
the end
in
of your name or whatever.
exactly, but in terms of the actual learning that's happening, like I know a bunch of my friends who've gone to business school. They're really not learning all that much. They're going to party and they're going to network, which is great. And if you're doing it just for the networking, sure, why not? But I also think that there are so many other ways that are going to take you a lot less time and be a lot more impactful, like joining mastermind groups or coaching groups or
Go to a conference.
go to a conference. Exactly.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
those there's your networking. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I completely agree. And I think I will say, I think there is some sort of a bond you get with people you go through school with. I think about my friends in college, they're like my ride or dies. We've gone through so much together and we will continue to go through the rest of our lives together. So I understand that. I would say I don't necessarily regret going to college. However, from like a financial money standpoint, it would have been way more beneficial for me to like start a business and start investing in real estate way before instead of going to get a college degree.
I wish I would have talked to like somebody when I was 18 years old. Like how do I do this? I think that's like the first step is like, okay, this is my goal. How do I make it work? Like talking to a mortgage lender, and I wish I would have done that just so much sooner because it just seemed like such an intimidating process. But then once I did it, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. They tell you exactly what to do. Like they look at your finances and they're like, do this, do this, do this, and you're like, okay. Like the first time I talked to a lender, it was like 6 months before I actually ended up buying a property because he had to tell me like how to wrangle my finances first. So that's like the biggest advice I would go back and tell myself is like talk to somebody that's already doing it or somebody that can help you out.
Completely, because most of these things really aren't that complicated. Real estate investing is not that hard. Building a business is like, it doesn't have to be that hard if you start surrounding yourself with other people who are doing it. If you're trying to do it by yourself, yeah, it may feel like you're trying to move a mountain, But the second you actually start talking to people who are doing it, they can kind of start putting you in the right path. That's going to get you to where you need to go so much sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, find people that what you're trying to do is just their everyday normal, you know, and they'll make it everyday normal for you.
Yeah, and that's like I remember I think either Cody Sanchez or someone made an Instagram post a few months ago that was like, if you want to get six pack abs, be around people who have six pack abs because that's their norm and they wake up and they work out and
Mhm.
they do whatever
I think that's
they
Brandon
do.
Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Well, he posted something similar, but maybe Cody did as
I'm
well.
sure they all post the same thing.
Yeah. Cuz that's the key. That is the key to success is like surround yourself with people that are like that have the mindset that you have or that you want to have and like the success will follow. Start doing what they do. I don't know.
Completely. No, I 100% agree with that. So I guess once you got that first property, what happened next? Like, how did you get to the point where now you've been able to quit your job and start your own business?
Yeah, so I did a cash out refi on that property at some point because I ended up having um, over 20% equity in it. And I cash out refi to like just a conventional loan. So I freed up my VA entitlement. I purchased another house hack in 2021. And then in 2022, I bought a short term rental with that cash out refi money. I let it sit until I found like a good property that I wanted. And that property is close to my hometown, but it's a lake house. And I get the benefit of like when I visit my family, I also work on the property. So there's tax benefits. And now I have two cash flowing properties. And I think realizing that I can live off of less was like the biggest thing because I made a lot in my W 2 and trying to reverse like that lifestyle creep. Like, okay, like you're not buying things that you don't need, investing that money and like really all my money goes to like my properties or like improving myself. And that's it. Or travel like occasionally, but
So I guess what income were you trying to replace and where did you get to in terms of like how much you can actually live off of to survive?
my W-2 made 165,000.
Mhm.
So I was trying to replace that. I got up to I want to say in cash flow like six figures
Yeah.
and
That's incredible.
really my W-2 yeah, yeah, it is. That I'm telling you, most of it's at California property. It's crazy, the numbers on that thing. But um, I kind of had to like realize that I could live off of my cash flow and step away from my 165,000 because even like replacing it, you're still cutting your income in half. And
Yeah,
I kind of wanted to take more of a bet on myself. Like I have value outside of what my job determines my value is, which is 165,000. Like if they're paying me that, that means that I'm bringing them that much value and I can do that for myself. So that's when I stepped away. I didn't end up actually replacing. I sort of did. It was close, but it was more of a mental decision. It was like a mindset thing.
totally. Well, that was like even for me when I quit my corporate job, I like the when I quit, I actually only had one property. I was under contract on another, but I just had one singular property, right? That property covered all my living expenses. It cash flowed anywhere from 2,500 to 6,500 and now whenever I'm traveling like 9,000 a month, right? And
Mhm.
I was like I can survive off of this. I could be totally fine.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm gonna have to cut down
Yeah.
expenses a little, but I also know that like at the time I was making some income through social media. I knew that I could
Mhm.
keep increasing my income and like building a business or building multiple businesses or figuring it out, like throwing crap at the wall, right? To figure it out. I
Yes.
was
Yeah.
determined and I knew that I could figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. That I think it's like, what do you do on a day to day basis, and how can you apply that outside of your job? Like I was working in IT, and it's like, okay, can I? I almost like realized like, hey, there's a lot of people that need that, like they need IT help or like IT consulting, and so that's what I decided to like launch my business. I'm obviously not replacing my 165,000 right now, but it makes me so much happier to be working with other entrepreneurs and like consulting, like actually seeing within what they're doing with their businesses and trying to improve it, the operations and stuff. And that's just so much more satisfying than like working for 40 hours no matter what, having to drive into the office and being with people that also don't want to be there. It's a completely different mindset.
Totally. So I guess, you kind of touched a bit about your business. What did you transition to? What are you doing now? What is the business that you created?
Yeah. So it's still in its little infancy. I have one client, and he's kind of like my test case. But currently, I am bridging the gap between entrepreneurs and their virtual assistants and looking at what they're doing on a day to day basis, automating whatever can be automated, setting up systems that their VAs can like easily work within and track. So it just depends on what the client is using. So working within CRMs, task tracking, stuff like that. And yeah, I guess the first step is automate. Second step is like delegate. And if they're having like a management gap, like they're having difficulty managing their VA, I am bridging that gap.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And so, what are so far, you said it's in your infancy. What are some major things that you're learning that maybe you wish you'd known before around creating your own business and going kind of full in on entrepreneurship?
This is something actually you kind of helped me with a little bit. Do it. Like get a client and then like see how it works. Like test stuff out. I put myself out there for this client, and I obviously I'm doing it cheaper than I would like to eventually because I do think it's high value. But if I'm providing him a lot of value and I can prove to myself also that I can do it, um, I don't know. It just seems like a win-win. Obviously, I have so much more to learn, but I wish that like if I could have done this while I had my W-2 job. Like I could have put myself out there back then, and I wish I would have. Um, I think that that probably would have made the transition much easier to just start trying, trying to
100%.
build your side hustle.
Yeah, and that's the thing is most people just never get started. They have these grand ideas, they're super pumped about it for a little bit, but then the actual starting and putting yourself out there obviously seems so scary at first because you just don't even know what you're getting yourself into, but it's like just try to get at least one client. Start with one. That's all you got to start with just for proof of concept even if you have to do stuff for free. I remember I tried to start an interior design business when I was working my corporate job, but I had no idea what I was doing. And it was more so for people's personal residences, which I realized like I didn't really enjoy as much. I prefer doing either investment properties or boutique hotels and stuff like that, just because there was a lot more creativity. And also, people were less attached to their investment properties than they are their personal homes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that really getting that knowledge then really spearheaded the relaunch, I guess, of my interior design business, and I had a lot more knowledge in terms of okay, don't do things this way. This is what went well before. This
Hmm.
is how we should do this going forward, and it proved for a way smoother transition into starting that business up versus if I had gone into it with zero knowledge at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just have to like test the concepts. And I'm like building ideas as I'm working with this first client. Like one of my ideas is I'm going to have internal VAs that I can start having them work on the client stuff. And I can tell the client, hey, it takes like 10 hours a week of maintenance to like upkeep your stuff. You should hire a VA for 10 hours a week. And that would like create even like an easier transition into, you know, hiring a VA because they know exactly what like how much that they need to hire them for instead of paying somebody full time that's maybe it's not necessary yet. But
Totally. And I also love what you said is that you're kind of building it as you go, because everyone thinks they have to have everything figured out. And this goes with real estate investing. This goes with building a
mhm.
business. This goes with starting anything new. It's like you got to learn everything you possibly can and you got to put it all in place before you can get started. And I find that the people that just get started, even if they don't have all the information, are the ones who learn way faster, way quicker, and who are more successful on the back end because you don't know what you don't know until you get started.
Yeah. I had a really hard time with that because I'm like the perfectionist that like it needs to be perfect before I put it out there, but it's like it doesn't. Like and it's not going to be like the first draft, it's not going to be perfect right away. You have to throw it out there and then revise it. Like you're going to pivot so many times. So just start with the first pivot.
Completely. Like, even when I got started with the Wanderlust Wealth Academy, it started off as just a regular course that I was going to sell. Like, there wasn't going to be any group coaching calls or anything like that. I just wanted to create a course and put it out there. And then when I started getting into it, I realized, wait, actually, I think people need that, group environment or one on one setting in some way or form to hold them accountable, right? And because I just
Mhm.
realized, in terms of even anything that I wanted to do, I love the accountability portion because it's so easy to just let things go. And so it developed into an 8-week boot camp. And then literally after the first session, I was like, nope, this is going to be a 6-month coaching program. And it just like kind of developed from there, right? But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't started and created the course at the beginning and had something to build off of. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
know when I got started that it was going to turn into this big thing that I love, that's like now my passion, and I'm running with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Finding your passion is like something that's, I don't know, I can't even like understate how important that is. Like if you're waking up and you're like happy with how your day is going to go, or you're excited to start your day, like that's it's just the best feeling.
100%. Yeah, and I think that's, where people a lot of the time say, if you're working on things you love, it doesn't feel like work. Cause I genuinely feel like that with a lot of what I do. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some stuff where I'm like, oh, this is kind of an effort. But that's why the beautiful thing as business owners is you can start hiring people and automating things to help you out with that, which you can't do as much in corporate America a lot. And then, not to say it's not impossible, because I've seen people do it. And I remember when I was working in corporate, I automated a lot of my job and started kind of outsourcing portions of it so it wasn't on me, so I could work less. I like I
Yeah.
pro- Luckily I don't work there anymore, so it doesn't matter and they can't do anything. But
Yeah, that's funny. I was not able to do that at all because everything was physically there, unfortunately. But I
yeah.
would have loved to have that.
So I guess, would you say is your zone of genius?
Operations, like automating things, making stuff. I efficiency. I think I need things to be efficient because my brain is all over the place. So if things aren't efficient, then it's not going to get done. So I have counterbalanced my chaotic brain with just extreme organization and efficiency.
So have you always been organized, like since you were a child, or did that develop later on in life?
I think it developed later on in life. If I look back on my childhood, I did really well in school, but it didn't require a lot of effort at all. So I didn't have to be organized then. So it was still, chaos like around me and also chaos in my brain. But then once I got to college and dropped out the first time, I only dropped out one time, but the first try I dropped out. I really like remember being so frustrated with myself because like I couldn't just get it right. Like it was just like I said, chaos. And then joining the Marine Corps really, I think it kind of helped with the organization because you have to in the Marine Corps, but at the same time, like it was a coping mechanism. Like it taught me how to be effective in my jobs in the Marine Corps. I had to be organized then. I think that's really when I built it the most.
Yeah. Why did you drop out that first time?
I didn't go to class. I was like majoring and partying. So, and honestly, I kept changing my major and I wasn't really like interested in the classes and I didn't take it seriously because I had a scholarship. So it's not like it hurt to be there. It's not like I was racking up debt or there was no pain, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I was every single time I changed my major, I was not sold on that major. Like it was just like a desperation attempt on like the next thing. And I guess I actually left before they kicked me out because I I was just proactive about it. But I was like, I can't keep spending money on something, even if it was, somebody else's, it was a scholarship, but on something that I don't even know I'm going to use. Like I can't even guarantee I'm going to get a job afterwards. And then I started working full time actually at FedEx. I don't know if you consider that a factory. It was manual labor. And then after a year of that, it was like, okay, I want something like more important or more meaningful. And then I joined the Marine Corps because I thought
Totally.
that was the answer to that question. So
Hey, well, it worked out in the end.
It did, yeah.
So, ever since you started investing in real estate, and maybe even if it's over the last year, what would you say has been the most beneficial thing that you have done throughout like your time as an entrepreneur?
If something's not working, like finding a way to make it work, like whenever I'd struggle with the Oceanside property, or even I guess with the Ohio property, like in the winter we weren't getting bookings and I was like, I know I need to get a hot tub, and then we got a hot tub, and then wow, that solved that problem. But just
Crazy how
like
that works.
con- yeah, constantly analyzing like how you're doing in life and like how your businesses are doing, and then making adjustments as you go. And
Yeah.
I think that's really great with also like yourself too. Like if you're struggling with your weight or, your health in general, make pivots for your health. So, I guess just being more mindful of where I'm at in life has been the biggest thing. Grading myself.
Great. Yeah, I like that, creating yourself. Yeah, because there really isn't anything that I've personally seen in life that's like a set it and forget it. Be it real estate, be it even stocks, honestly, be it your relationships with your friends and your family, be it your health. A lot of the time we keep trying to find these like one off solutions and we're like, okay, we're done with that. We're never going to have to look at it like therapy, right? Like you do it once, you're good to go. You're never going to need therapy again. Like, no, that's just not how that works. Obviously, and it's like different seasons call for different sorts of pivoting and help, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly just constantly evaluating yourself and trying to like uh, I hate the word balance, but I guess like balance it. Balance like what you need and where you're lacking. And I wish there was like some way to just like be chill and do not worry about anything, but it doesn't exist. It does not. Yeah, everything is like work to some degree.
Totally. Okay, well, we are now going to go into the final three interview questions that I like to ask everyone who comes on the Wanderlust Wealth Show. So, what does your ideal perfect day look like?
So my perfect day is I'm actually doing this a lot more now that I'm an entrepreneur, or I don't have a W-2 job, is I let myself wake up naturally. Like my body gets the amount of sleep that it needs and I wake up. I try to go to bed at the same time every single day. So I wake up naturally. I get coffee or tea, and then I like to take my dogs out on a walk in the woods. Like that's like one of the biggest things that I like to do every day. And then I do try to do some type of like listening to a podcast or whatever during that time. And that's kind of just like my brainstorming sessions. And if there's something that I need to like brainstorm that's not related to, that's like internal, then quiet, just like a quiet walk. And then honestly, just spending time, like, okay, if we take work out of it, spending time with like the people you love, like that's where I find the most value. Any type of, I don't know, a day at like an amusement park with the people that I love the most, or exploring some small remote city that's like fun. I don't know. I like traveling to those places, the obscure places, and just
Yeah.
like deep diving the
What's a
community.
what's an
But
obscure place you've been to that you really enjoyed?
oh gosh. Okay, so I'm the worst because I don't remember the name of it, but there was this small town in Nevada
Mhm.
that apparently they had an alien sighting, and that was like their claim to fame. And so like all of their everything in this, and I'm telling you, it was like a small town. Like there was maybe one stoplight, and their claim to fame was this like alien sighting. So everything was like UFO themed, and like right nearby there was like a monument, and it was really interesting. And I wish I'll ask one of my best friends because I was there with her what the name was, and I can tell you
That's
later.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what is your mantra? That's question number 2. What's your mantra?
I actually write down some affirmations, but I think one of my favorite one is that I'm going to create a life where the people around me's lives are touched and like they're impacted as much as possible. And then I don't remember where I read this, but I loved it and I wrote it down, and it's been in my uh, planner ever since is everyone around me will see the best version of myself and then they will show the best version of themselves back. And I just like that concept because, yeah, I don't know. I think you're responsible for your own happiness, and the happier you are, um, you can just really bring that out of other people. And that, like, what's a better purpose than that?
I love
That's
that.
kind of
And
cheesy, but
no, I love that. I also love cheesy, so you're good.
perfect.
But I really do love that because I think a lot of the time, especially when it comes to relationships, either with family members or with friends, we get into this weird cycle where we start trying to change other people or think that the solution is to try and get the other person to see it your way. But at the end of the day, if you're giving your best version of yourself and you're just you're worried about being the best version of yourself and showing the best version of yourself consistently, that exudes onto other people, and they see that. They see
Hmm.
your energy, they see your passion, they see your happiness, your light, your love, your joy, and it internal like it will bring that out of them as well. It's like, when and it's kind of what we were saying before, when you're around people doing the things that you want to do, you start to do it too, like just out of sheer attraction. I don't know exactly what it is. I know it's stuff to do with energies and
Yeah, it's an energy thing. I think it's a transfer of energy. I don't know. It's got to be because if you're showing somebody the best version of yourself, like it's really hard to have them not show the best version of themselves back.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, okay, so now last question. What does wealth mean to you?
There's always the financial aspect of wealth, and I think that to me is just, being secure and like not living paycheck to paycheck and that type of stuff. But again, I think just like a deeper sense of wealth is finding your fulfillment. Like what fulfills you every day? Like what do you like to do that just like lights up the fire inside of you? And then the people that you love, like making their lives better. I think I don't know. There you just got to find your why, and like one of my whys is just all the people that I love in my life. I want to make their lives as good as they possibly can be. And I think that's true wealth.
I love that. I love that. Okay, well, so where can people find you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, just Becca Peachey. Peachy is EY at the end. That's kind of like where I spend most of my time, but you can also find my TikTok. I kind of BS on that a lot. It's like a goofy thing more than it is like a business thing. And then I would like to start a YouTube. I think it's the same at everywhere. And you can also find me on Facebook. I think that one is Life is Peachy.
Perfect. And is there anything you want to offer to our listeners in case they, especially if they want any help with processes and systems and working with VAs?
Yeah. So normally I do a half hour consultation, free consultation, but how about 45 minutes free consultation for your visitors if they mention Olivia or the Wanderlust podcast? If you are struggling with setting up systems and processes, uh, I'm really good at automation. I've been managing my properties from like across the country, and I don't even think that would be possible if I wasn't good at streamlining stuff and making it as easy as possible. Um, so yeah, I can help there. And I do coach, but I don't really advertise that because I don't know. It's not something that I like want to push on people, but if you do need coaching, if you feel like you need coaching, you can also reach out to me for that.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Becca. This was awesome. And that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.